Time to abandon ship.
Oh no!
Here we go!
Can I persuade you to join us for a drink? It's a tradition.
Here, here.
Jar Jar, homie, my main man, quickly. Before the Separatists attack, get into the escape pod.
Hey! This is escape, then we're the pod.
Welcome back to Star Wars Escape Pod. I'm your host, Josh, and today we have Reid back in the house for a round table. Mandalorian Episode 5, The Gunslinger. A fantastic episode. If you haven't seen it yet, go watch it now on Disney+. And it ended up being a very dynamic dual roundtable. Nobody else was able to make it. And, sadly enough, we just went forward through the night. Reid brought in a box of donuts for everyone, and it ended up just being us. So, yeah, made for an eventful evening. So stay tuned for that, and great conversation coming up about Mandalorian. So thanks again for tuning in. Don't forget, keep track of things that you might want to comment on, send feedback, questions, and we're on Twitter, and our email is theescapepod@outlook.com. Our Twitter is SW Escape Podcast. That's SW Escape Podcast on Twitter. Let us know if you want us to set up a Facebook or a YouTube channel, do some live shows once in a while. Just let us know. We would love to hear from you. So, without further ado, thanks again for listening, and let's welcome Reid back on the show.
Another happy landing.
All right, are we back? We're back.
Awesome.
Welcome back, Reid.
Thanks, man. Glad to be back.
Good to have you.
Yeah, long time no see.
Long time no see. We were just at this yesterday night talking about Vader Immortal Episode 3, and here we are again. This week, you brought in a ton of donuts for everyone.
For our
and
sadly round table
nobody
discussion.
showed up. Yeah, it's like, oh my goodness, I'm so sorry.
No, it's okay. It's not Tim Hortons donuts. It's not that expensive.
Yeah, it's man. Well, still, it's just like it's a shame. But anyway, thanks for coming back. At least somebody showed up. Somebody showed up. You hear that, guys? Somebody showed up.
Could you imagine if you were just
looking
left
at
here by yourself?
Yeah. Dude, like that would suck.
That would suck.
Man,
hey guys,
what's a round table with like
I'm gonna
one
have a
person?
round table. Yeah, round table.
It's just us tonight, and we're gonna be talking all about Mandalorian Episode 5. It was
Episode 5, Chapter
Episode
5.
This one's called The Gunslinger. I believe, right? It's called The Gunslinger. Yeah.
Gunslinger.
And 30-something minutes long. And man, like all I can say about it right now, just before we dive into it, is like this was like such a nostalgic episode. Like 100%. So
100%.
nostalgic.
Literally one word drop, and it was like nothing but nostalgia the whole time.
Oh, so good. Let me just turn off the heater here. But like, what did you think of it? Like it lengthwise, like as soon as like the episode started and we got like that initial, approach to Tatooine after that little firefight up in space. Like what did you think?
Oh yeah, I was like super pumped because this was really like the first time that they've actually bothered to kind of tell us where we are and what we're doing. So it was kind of like, oh, Mos Eisley. I was like, oh, I know where that is. That's Tatooine. Because you see him kind of approaching like this deserty looking planet in the distance. It's like, okay, is it back to the old one, or where are we going right now? Like, what planet is this? Because I'm sure there's like a bajillion barren desert planets in the galaxy, and we're on Tatooine, which was so cool. And so we go into the Mos Eisley spaceport, and it's made very clear that the Empire was not a beloved organization there.
No way.
We get some not effigies, but like totems, or like basically poles or spears with impaled stormtrooper
helmets on it. Yeah, you can only and there was definitely a little bit of blood on some of them.
Some bloods and cracks and battle damage for sure. Yeah.
Oh man, and it goes to show as well, because there's like zero Imperial presence in that that planet as well. Yeah, it was cool that we got to see Mos Eisley again, but it's definitely
quieter.
Yeah, like way quieter, way less bustling place. I don't know if it was just.
I think that the stormtrooper helmets set the tone a little bit ominous.
Yeah, for sure.
And it's kind of interesting because he goes into the I don't know, whatever, the cantina, basically. Possibly not the cantina that we know and love, but a cantina, and meets up with the guy and stuff. And I was kind of curious. Maybe I didn't hear them super great, but it almost sounded like the huts aren't a thing anymore.
Yeah. So it's funny that you mentioned that, because I'm actually just looking up a recap here of things that I've read in the Aftermath trilogy about Tatooine post Return of the Jedi.
Yeah.
So there's a little quote here that I'll read. I know that things are changing, not just in the galaxy, but here at home too. The Hutts still haven't shaken out who's next up to fill Jabba's throne. If you can call that a flat slab, if you can call that flat slab of his throne, seems like this might be a new day for Tatooine. That's said by Cobb Vanth. Cobb Vanth was a character that showed up in the interludes throughout the Aftermath trilogy books. Okay. And I'm blanking exactly who he was, but here we go. We can click on him. I know that he ended up finding Boba Fett's armor. After and this is all after the whole Return of the Jedi.
Yeah.
So Cobb Vanth was a human male that lived around the time of the Battle of Endor. Once a slave, he rose to become a sheriff of Freetown on the planet Tatooine after acquiring a set of Mandalorian armor from Jawas in 4 ABY, which is 4 years after the Battle of Yavin. That's around a year or so ish, maybe just under, before the Battle of Jakku.
Okay.
I would say.
Yeah.
Because the end of the Aftermath trilogy is the Battle of Jakku. We were actually having this conversation last night after we talked about Vader Immortal 3. We stayed up and talked a little bit about the remnants of the Empire and all that.
Yeah.
Which is interesting because this episode had actually so much significance to our conversation yesterday, and we really should have almost recorded it. But there was around that time. This guy acquired a set of Mandalorian armor from some Jawas. The following year, Vanth enlisted in the services of Jabba's former animal trainer, Malakili. Yeah, something. Malakili, in raising a young Hutt named Borgo. Months later, Freetown was later attacked by the Red Key Raiders, but Cobb managed to enlist the Tusken Raiders' help in driving the criminals away. Little is known about his origins. Cobb Vanth, that is, was once a slave who had a star-shaped scar tissue carved into his back as a sign of ownership. What else do we know about him? He said, or he does have a little thing here about him as a sheriff of Freetown. It says by the year 5 ABY, which is around the end of the Aftermath trilogy, around the Battle of Jakku, Vanth established himself as sheriff and de facto mayor of Freetown, which was the name of what had once been Mos Pelgo. He stopped a plot by the Red Key Syndicate to sneak a Huttlet into the palace in Freetown or something. He had a little bit of an arc going on, but basically,
cool.
Cobb Vanth is they very much hint out the fact that he acquired Boba Fett's armor, and they also they very much establish that he becomes like this sheriff figure that kind of I would imagine that his jurisdiction is like goes outside of Freetown as well, like, you know, because Tatooine it's got its populated areas, but I mean, as we've seen post Empire, like some sort of revolution has happened now, and people have definitely driven the Empire out of their world. In a lawless planet, that law is no longer accepted. And whether it's Cobb Vanth, you know, at this whole thing or not, there's no more Imperials anymore. And it also looks like it's driven a lot of people away because it's so quiet. You know, when the Mandalorian's walking down the street, there's just nobody around. But the reason why I'm talking about Cobb Vanth and Boba Fett's armor is because we heard the spurs at the very end of this episode. The Boba Fett spurs.
Oh, okay. See, I was just like, okay, like when I saw the end of that, I was like, all right, we got a like large ominous figure with spurs on their boots. I knew absolutely nothing of what that could be.
Yeah, I never thought that they would actually, you know, it might not be him. It might not be Boba Fett at all. It might not even be Cobb Vanth. It might just be a really massive, you know, cliffhanger moment
with some random
with that maybe also just has spurs.
We'll call him Rando.
Some Rando. Mando, there's the Mando and the Rando. Exactly. The Rando remains a mystery for now. And so, you know, it's there's like this really I guess we'll have to wait for the next episode, but
gotta wait for the next episode.
Yeah, but there are people speculating online. I know the guys over at like another podcast that I listen to have placed some bets on whether or not Boba Fett will show up, or if his armor shows up, or something like that. Yeah. So it's going to be really interesting to see if they bring that back, because
that'd be cool.
Not once was it leaked. Not once did we hear of any like rumors or did we see in any teaser trailer whatsoever about the Mandalorian that we would even get a baby Yoda creature showing up. So it's not super far-fetched that they would maybe go the route of explaining that somebody did in fact get acquired Boba Fett's armor, and this is all canon in the Aftermath book. So you know, naturally Cobb Vanth does exist, you know, and at the time of this show, which is about 5 years or so after the fall of the Empire, we're a little closer, we're a little further down the line than what we've read about Cobb Vanth so far. So, you know, the costume may have changed, and I did freeze frame at the end when I was setting up the recording here, and you know, I tried to look in on the shoes and stuff to see if they were Boba's
that's
shoes.
why you paused that. I was like, I wonder what it is that he's like, oh no way. I was like, was it one of the credit names or something?
No, it was like it was exactly that. It was like the shoes, and it turned out no, it doesn't look exactly the same. It was just the sound effect, but I'm still thinking to myself like, whoa, like if they, you know, maybe the chest plate and the helmet's still the same. Maybe this guy does have a longer cloak than Boba's little side. Blanket towel thing,
side
whatever.
Cape.
Side cape.
Blanket towel thing.
You know, I call it a towel because in the prototype costume for Boba Fett, they actually used a beach towel, a Star Wars beach towel for the prototype costume.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it was when they were dressing him up prior to Empire Strikes Back. I think this was either for this was around the time of like Holiday Special or something like that. But Boba Fett initially was all white. And he had a to substitute for a cape. They attached a white Star Wars beach blanket to where the cape would be. And so it all kind of like matched. They eventually made an action figure for this.
That's hilarious.
It was. I think it was an exclusive or something. There, you know, at one point. Or I really should have got one when I had the chance. But it was a cool little, you know, play off of, you know, the costume when they made this like super ghetto style thing with the beach blanket. But this guy's cape is like longer than the beach blanket. For sure. What did you notice about this episode? Like what stood out? Because there were so many Easter eggs. Like what really took you by surprise?
The Tusken Raiders took me by surprise big time. Like I love the Tusken Raiders. Like they're like a constant part like throughout like so many of the movies. and then like the entire scene where the Mandalorian is just casually like, like, oh, we're just gonna stand here and look at them, and he's just kind of like nonchalantly, goading on the kid or whatever, right? The gunslinger, basically.
Yeah.
And then he's like, why don't you ask him yourself? And he turns around and there's 2 Tusken Raiders right there. And I was like, wait, what? They didn't get shot outright?
Well, this
What's
guy,
going on?
that's the thing about this episode that you pointed out. Like, that's the one thing that throughout this entire episode, we've got so many parallels with A New Hope. Like so many. From the moment that he docks in Mos Eisley to the cantina, to meeting that guy, the gunslinger, at I think it's the same booth that Han and Greedo have their shootout in. If we went back and scrubbed through, like, because we've only just seen this episode once, I'm pretty sure there might even be blaster scoring on the wall from the shootout. I wouldn't be surprised. So that's it's so cool though that they rebuilt that whole cantina and everything, and it's so dead quiet. Like they've definitely pushed the fact that this place is no longer a lively place. Yes. Something's gone on here in which is forced.
Well, you know what
out.
It is, Josh? It's they've let droids into the cantina now.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Remember?
Yeah,
your droids are.
We don't serve your kind here.
Exactly. We don't want them here.
They're gonna have to wait outside.
Yeah, exactly. But
that's a very I didn't even think of that. Yeah, that's a good point. They're really reinforcing the fact that this place is desolate now. Nothing is happening here anymore.
Yeah.
The glory days of Mos Eisley are long gone. And long behind us. Yeah. So that was really cool to see that it's just a changed place.
For sure.
But so much nostalgia. Like the docking bay, the cantina, the droid thing. And
droids.
Then
what are those droids even called? I can't remember.
The pit droids. They're
Phantom Menace.
Phantom Menace pit droids. I smiled when I saw those.
Big
Dave,
grin.
my man. Like, thank you, Dave. Dave Filoni. Did Dave Filoni direct or write this episode? Do you see the writing credits for this one? I think
I didn't catch them.
Let's look this up. I should have done this before. Mandalorian episode 5. I'm pretty sure this one was written and directed by Dave Filoni, but
probably.
But let's just confirm this here. The whole Tusken Raider thing was really reminiscent of when Luke has that same exact moment where he's looking through the binoculars at the Tusken Raiders with the Banthas on the
whole planes,
time and then he gets ambushed, and it's like, are there is that how they do this? Like, is that how they do it? Do they just have these guys sitting out in the middle of nowhere and then having raiders around like the mountains that kind of surround
the sand dunes or whatever
dune area? Are they like hiding at every single peak of the sand dune to jump out at somebody? It makes me wonder, because like there's so many surrounding dunes. It's like, did they literally just sprint over there as soon as they saw someone showing up? Like, are they running around all day to try and catch like the next time someone shows up on one of the peaks, or is there raiders like around every single corner? And are there 2 guys that are just chilling down there all day long with the Banthas?
Just the bait. Like, oh my gosh, dude.
It's just so many questions.
Was like, and like that aside though, just like the fact that the Tusken Raiders didn't outright shoot them, I was like, what is going on right now?
Oh yeah, that was pretty funny. I thought it was so funny that the Mandalorian almost expected them to show up like that.
It was he was just casually
chilling on the speeder.
Like, because like up until that point, he had just kind of like constantly been like treating the gunslinger like the kid that he is, really, right? Like, doesn't he like call him like kid too, like throughout the thing?
I think so. I forget. Yeah, I think something like that. Yeah.
But and so he's just kind of like goading him on the whole time, like, just like totally nonchalant. And then it's the same thing with the Tusken Raiders, like just totally mellow and chill, and just monotone, like nonchalantly, like is like, oh yeah, why don't you ask him yourself? And then there's 2 of them right there, and he just like, oh yeah, he's like, don't worry about it, I got this. And then he does like the hand gestures, or like not quite like sign language, I guess, or whatever, but communicates with them. Yeah,
he communicates with them, and to gain passage across their property, and in turn gives them the kids binoculars, or the monoculars, or whatever they're called,
Which also
Which are
were the
brand
same
new.
ones that I remember Luke using on Tatooine.
Yeah,
in
same
episode 4.
model. Yeah.
Same model.
Yeah, exactly.
Even though he's like, these are brand new.
Yeah.
What'd you do?
It makes me wonder, like, would they still have killed Luke if he just gave them his stuff? You know, like.
Exactly. I was like, that's what confused me so much. I was like, what does the Mandalorian know that I don't? Because every time I've seen a Tusken Raider, they're like, they always kill everyone.
Yeah.
Like that's the thing. I mean, he said himself, right? Like he's like, oh yeah, like the Mandalorian is like, oh yeah, like as far as they're concerned, like this is their land and everyone else is just trespassing.
Yeah.
And so I was like, why are they not dead right now?
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
At least getting shot at. Like.
Yeah, but I like that part a lot. I like how the naive kid who's new at his job, new at adventure, all that stuff, straight up makes the same exact mistake that Luke does.
Exactly.
But fortunately, thanks to like the Mandalorian, who's there to basically just cover his butt, basically. Expects them to show up, and so when he finishes like looking through his things, he looks behind him and. He's just standing off to the side going, you mean these guys right over here?
The ones that snuck up behind you and are just standing there right now.
Hey kids, give us your milk money.
Exactly.
But no, that was super cool. And what's her name shows up in this episode who plays that Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. character, the Chinese actress.
I have not watched that show, so I don't know.
I've only seen half of it or something.
Okay.
But yeah, it was... I'm blanking on her name. A very Chinese name.
It's her name in the credits.
Min Lang Tan or something. Anyway.
Yeah.
Anyway, she plays a bounty hunter that they're trying to track down, and But that was kind of a cool sequence, like having that standoff across that far distance.
That was very cool.
They have to like beeline it like at nighttime, using the flares to throw her off, and the sniper.
That was super cool. I love the part too where they're like, he gets after they find the what do they call that thing? The
dewback.
Yeah, the dewback, and like the dead bounty hunter on him, or dragged on the ground next to him. That he gets shot and runs back into cover.
Yeah,
and then he's like, all right, we'll go out like after dark or whatever, and blah blah, make a break for it, and maybe we'll make it. And the kid's like, what do you mean maybe? He's like, well, I got like Beskar steel on and blah blah blah, and so like at this range it can't penetrate it. And he's like, well, I don't have Beskar. He's like, well, yeah. He's like, no kidding.
Yeah.
Like, you just realize this now, like, that you can get shot and killed by this massive blaster.
Yeah.
Like, that was a great moment.
You know what's great about this entire episode is that every single Star Wars fan is the gunslinger.
100%.
Like every single Star Wars fan.
It's like, yeah, let's go. Let's do it.
Yeah.
Oh, we got these people. Oh, we'll just go.
Like if we were to take ourselves and just plop ourselves into the Star Wars galaxy, 100% I would be at the booth where Han Solo was sitting, putting my feet up on the table like Han Solo was sitting, waiting for like someone to come up and offer him a job, thinking I'm super pro at it, but I've never done anything in my life.
Exactly.
Just like, one thing to the next. Giving looks to the child, like you're like, what the heck is that thing? Like this little alien.
Yeah, just totally ignorant of the fact that the biggest payday ever, literally, it was like 2 feet in front of him. And he's just like, whatever.
Completely unaware to like most things around him going on, like the Tusken Raiders behind him, all that stuff. I thought like because there were so many. The one thing that surprised me about his character was when he shot the girl, when he shot his mark.
That was I did not see that coming at all.
Yeah, I was
thought
like,
for sure
wow.
he was gonna be like, because he made it like very blatantly clear that money wasn't a concern to him, like at all. He's like, hey, this is like so that I can get on the inside and like be a part of this and blah blah blah. Excuse me. And so I didn't see it coming. I was like shocked. Like it's not often that I'm like really that surprised by something. Yeah. And that definitely surprised me that he just flat out shot her and killed her. Yeah. And I was like, wow, she's dead.
Yeah.
And
I thought she was going to last longer than that when they announced her casting. Like when they announced her in the show, I was like, okay, yeah, she's going to be around for a few episodes. And then boom, gone. I was like, what?
I mean, unless she's like, somehow still alive or whatever, which I seriously doubt.
Well, the Mandalorian came back and saw her dead, and I'm assuming he just knew she was dead.
He can probably kind of tell.
Yeah.
So and then the kid just totally, like, even though he literally just like fought alongside this guy and watched him get smoked by this like heavy duty long range blast rifle and still not get taken down. He's like, oh, I'm gonna take him on. I was like, bro,
Oh, he's gonna double cross the Mandalorian. Like nobody double crosses a Mandalorian.
God.
Like his greed got the better of him. But I think that's something that's like so relatable. Like 100%. I think it. It's like the nature of a Star Wars fan. If being plopped into that universe with all the knowledge in the world, could be that same exact naive.
Well, we were
person.
talking about this yesterday a bit, right? I was like, I'm playing Jedi Fallen Order, and there's like certain bosses and areas that you're like not really ready for.
Yeah.
Like when you first start out the game, like you need to progress through the actual story to get certain abilities and stuff. But I would see these bosses, and I was like, oh, I can take on this boss. Like, I can get to it, so I must be good enough to take this guy down.
Yeah.
And so I would go up against this boss, and it would just be endless. Like I die and die and die and die and die, and I was just like, I was like, I am going to kill this freaking thing. But I was just completely out of my league.
On a side note about that game, in part of like switching to story mode in the end, I ended up just like, there were times where like I love the game. I'm so happy with the game, but there were times where the game made me want to throw the controller out the window.
Dude, oh my goodness, legit. I'm still playing. I'm still on Jedi Knight difficulty, which is really only like a step up from story mode.
Yeah.
And I'm still like, oh, it's so much harder than I thought it was going to be, dude.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Awesome game. But yeah, anyways.
Yeah. So, but yeah, no, it's exactly that kind of idea. And same with like Star Wars RPGs. I GM for Star Wars RPG. I've told you this about before, but so many decisions that I've witnessed, being made on the fly, and I'm guys, like,
not
like, just think about it first.
Think about what you're doing.
Yeah. Think about what you're doing first. Even me playing like some of the video games, just there was like, I mean, not to keep going back to Fallen Order or anything, but like, there's definitely moments where I'm like, I can make that jump. And then I just plummet to my death. And then, but no, like this kid, like who's living, as we're watching him, he's living a real life in a real world position. And he's got real world goals trying to get into this bounty hunter guild and making all these decisions. And he makes the mistake of double crossing the Mandalorian and, being his naive self. I'm surprised it even lasted that long. Story purposes, like I can see like, okay, they kept him around to the end of the episode, but in true, I think I was almost expecting him to get shot in the face when he was like on lookout.
Literally, I was waiting for that to happen. I was like, dude, you're poking your head up over your cover, and there's a giant blaster rifle that you just saw smoke your buddy twice. Yeah. Like maybe take a hint.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I almost expected him to take one there, but he didn't. And but I just thought that was, that guy, I don't know why, but like for some reason he resonates as just a Star Wars fan to me.
Oh yeah. Well, he's basically, when I think about how I like, play like Star Wars Battlefront or whatever, like a lot of those video games, that's kind of how I play it. I'm like, all right, I've got the gear. Let's just go. Yeah. And I just go and throw myself into it.
Yeah.
Oh, well, I died a few times.
Yeah, exactly.
But for this guy, he's kind of like, oh yeah, I'm mortal.
Yeah. For him, it's almost like when you play the Old Republic or Knights of the Old Republic, you have to make a bold decision. So many, like I highly doubt there's very few, there's very few people out there that have probably always made the light side decision all the time, 100%. Like, there's definitely people who have like, I would say a large amount of people have probably maintained closer to the middle, if not even leaning towards like the dark side, because they go after some other odd choices that very negatively affect their force, side, I guess, the light side, dark side. But yeah, like, it's just one choice. And then, the slider kind of does its thing. And, it makes me think like, okay, this kid, super naive as he is, like who I'm surprised still lasted that long, had the choice of just continuing with the job, being happy with what he had, or he had the greater challenge of, which would had the bigger reward, like greater risk, greater reward. Like he had, and he shot her and gave that job up in turn for taking, over the child and holding the Mandalorian at gunpoint. Like, we all knew it was gonna come to his morbid end, but
literally,
but yeah, he made that foolish choice that we all would have made in a video game, except we would have come out on top because it's a video game and we get do-overs, right?
Exactly. We can press the respawn button.
Yeah, like we don't know what's gonna happen until it happens. Then we know what's gonna happen. So
exactly. Then we can. Literally.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
No, but yeah, I connected with that character so much. Like, I'm like, that's me. I'm that fool, that naive guy that if in real life would have been plopped into Star Wars, I would have probably been that guy. Like, he's like the wannabe. He's the guy that wants to be a Han Solo character with swagger, gunslinger, slinging it around.
It was so funny because like, he's got this new pair of binoculars or whatever. He's got this, this blaster swagger.
There it goes.
It's like, he's like, man, I just bought that brand new. He's like, what are you doing?
Hey, what are you doing? That's mine. Like,
And he's kicked, like right from the get-go, he's kicked back in the cantina. Just like totally like,
oh my goodness.
I'm so geared up.
The
and
amount
ready
of
for this,
times is that I took something away from my players when I was GMing for an RPG game, and they just threw a fit. Especially AJ. AJ, if you're listening to this, you know exactly what I'm talking about. There was a lot of looting going on in my games, and it got to the point where they were just getting so much stuff, and they were getting so wealthy, and like so. And I'm like, I gotta strip them of like some of these things. So it got to the point where I had to start blowing things up if they failed checks to loot something. Just so that they would lose the loot. And like, it's a super bad call on like, I could have thought of like a way better in-game reason to have these kind of things happen. But yeah, like if there was a speeder that they wanted to steal or whatever, and it wasn't something I had in mind, I'm like, okay, in story, I was like, you have to get it to work because, the engine's like not working, whatever. But you have to be careful because, there's a bit of smoke coming out of the hood or something like that. And, one thing would lead to the next, and I would make it a challenging, dice roll. Yeah. And then, eventually things would just blow up. So there was a...
It's Star Wars. Things are meant to explode.
Exactly. But there was definitely like once or twice where like AJ got really, really ticked off. So yeah, but it's all in fun, but yeah, it was just to kind of keep everyone on the rails at times, but like 100%, like it's just the nature of things, but
so good.
But yeah, no, that was like, it was super cool to see like the docking bay 35, was it?
Was
that
it
he's in
15?
It was docking bay. Is it 15 or 30? I don't know. I thought I heard
Numbers.
35.
It was a
one of the docking bays. One of the docking bays that looked identical to all the other docking bays.
Literally.
But super cool to see a set like that again.
Oh yeah.
And the pit droids, and you just everything down to like the crates and random things in the background. Like,
oh yeah, there was going through Mos Eisley, like there was one of the droids I remember as he entered the cantina. I was like, oh, I recognize that droid.
Yeah.
I haven't seen that.
The bar droid you're talking about. That droid, the one that talks like that. That's the one that's Jabba's assistant that sorts 3PO and R2 into their positions, into their jobs. He's the same. The one that the voice never matches up with how his mouth moves up and down. Love how they replicated that. I love it.
That was great.
I thought that was fantastic because I still, to this day, I've watched Return of the Jedi, many times. And every time I see that droid, I always think, if this movie was done today, would that droid's mouth have lined up better, like with the voice that was coming out? Because there were times where he was talking and the mouth wasn't even going up and down, and I was like, oh, it's just like a rig problem, on set. They probably, the robotics weren't like fluid enough or something. Who knows, right? You never know. Like our 3PO didn't even have a mouth; he just has a hole. So it was one of the few droids that we've actually seen that has a moving mouth like that. And I thought, like, oh, if that was done today, I wonder if it would have been better. It was just a passing thought, but no, it was like. It was so well handled in this episode. Like, just little things like that are things about this show that I greatly appreciate. Huge. I don't know if to call it fan servicing or not, but it's just such a good call. Like just such a good call to make story wise. Set in this universe, you can feel it just rooted in Star Wars.
That's like yeah, to me that was great because it's like it takes place on in an environment that we're like familiar with and stuff like that, and then they drop like tons of just little Easter eggs throughout the whole time that they're there. But then it's an original story, so it's not like, you know, we're going back and like feeling like we're being dragged through something that we already know like how it's going to end pretty much.
Yeah.
And so it was just, yeah, it was fun. And I mean, you know, and yeah, and I think now that I think about it, there was the lady, there was a few times she dropped some one-liners in there like Womp Rat or just taking a Beggar's Canyon.
Yeah, Beggar's Canyon. Yeah, that's a good one as well. Yeah, another good reference. Yeah, no, that's a reference that Luke talked about Beggar's Canyon, wasn't it?
Yeah, because
when he's in the trench run, he's like, yeah, this is just like Beggar's Canyon back home, right?
Yeah, we beg one. Oh yeah, like because there was that part, and then before that, I think they're looking at the plans of the Death Star, and they're like, that's an impossible shot, blah blah blah. He's like, oh, that's nothing. We used to beg Womp Rats in Beggar's Canyon back home.
Yeah, yeah. It's yeah, I know there's some really cool. I hope that's not the last that we've seen of Tatooine. I'm sure it's not, but like I really want to see more of Tatooine in this show, like or in at least in season 2. I want to know more about what has happened there since the days of like Cobb Vanth and you know, and like what happened to the Imperial resources there. Unless I'm what's going on with the huts right now? Like I want to know these things, and you know, I've scoured a lot of the books and the stuff that has come after. So, you know, if you're listening to this right now and you have any clue of what happened to Tatooine, something I may have missed, send us an email at theescapepod@outlook.com or a tweet at SWEscapepodcast. Let us know, and we'll talk about it next time
for sure.
Yeah.
Oh, but you know, I think number one priority of all those things is where's the band gone?
Oh,
where's the Cantina band, dude?
Yeah,
we need to find
no business anymore. No business anymore.
Yeah. They've let in droids, so they're like, "Okay, we're out of here. We can't do it."
There's that band. It has a name. I'm blanking on the name that they've got, but I believe I don't know if I'm imagining this or not, but I think they had something of an interlude in one of the Aftermath books. Okay. But I'm not too sure if it was them or if it was maybe Max Rebo's band. But I'm vaguely remembering some sort of musical band that had some sort of connection. And you know, the Aftermath books are really interesting outside of like the core group of characters, which kind of resonated in throughout that story, which I didn't really connect with at all until the last book. But the first book was not very good at all. I just didn't really enjoy it that much. The interludes were the most interesting part of that entire first book. There's like so basically what you have happen is, I don't know if it's between every chapter or not, but once in a while you'll get an interlude, and it's this random kind of mini chapter that gives you a random little short story and a peek in on some random planet somewhere.
Okay. Through
someone's perspective, whether it's a character we know, or if it's like a cameo of some other character we might know, or if it's something, you know, it's also the trilogy of books responsible for canonizing what happens to Jar Jar Binks. He becomes a street performer. So
no way.
Yeah. So in the days post the Empire, or I guess, you know, pre the end of
some tricks.
Yeah, he ends up being a street performer, and he's got an entire interlude dedicated to that, and we're like, what he's been up to, and that's the last piece of canon that we've had about him. But there's like cool interludes about that. There was a really cool one on Coruscant where in the special edition, I guess it started in the special edition, but you know, if you watch it on Disney Plus or on the Blu-rays or whatever, you'll see it. At the very end, in the celebration song of Return of the Jedi, there's a scene of Coruscant and people celebrating, and we see in the background, kind of close to the Jedi Temple, there's a massive statue that gets like pulled down by people.
Yeah,
in the background. Yeah, and so there's an entire interlude about this entire riot going on. Dedicated to that statue falling down in the background. So that's what these books are cool for, because the interludes really give you an idea of like what's going on, and it's through these interludes that we follow the story of Cobb Vanth once in a while he pops
okay.
up, and we do get a few insights into Tatooine. And I wish I could remember them further now that we're going back here in the show. But like I'm really hoping to like get more answers out of this place.
For sure.
Yeah. But yeah, I don't know. We've got a lot of time left here. What is it that you think is going to happen next?
Oh, my
Because
goodness.
this was a kind of a random out there episode. It was kind of a stop in.
Yeah, I mean, it was interesting because it like, I mean, all we knew from the last one was that, you know, he was leaving the planet.
Yeah.
Like, or whatever.
Well, he
was.
basically the last episode concluded that there's still bounty hunters on his tail.
Exactly.
Tracking down the child. So he's still
this
on the
one
run.
literally starts with a bounty hunter literally on his tail.
Yeah, tracking him.
His face, which that bounty hunter was a terrible shot, by the way. Like, who the fudge gave that guy a ship with blasters on it was not the best decision in the world.
I think one of the primary things about these episodes that I've taken away so far, I mean, the Mandalorian is overly awesome. Like he's, he's made out to be good at his job.
I mean,
but
and
some of these bounty hunters do
shiny Beskar steel. Like,
yeah, exactly. He's just a boss. Yeah. But aside from that, like I know that he's going to be taking care of almost anyone that faces him.
Pretty much.
Yeah. You know, even though we've seen him get wrecked by like a big beast, by horn or something, but
and this time around he got knocked on his arse by like this heavy duty blaster.
Yeah, exactly.
That he seemed genuinely concerned about.
Yeah, he's not just like he's not the kind of guy that's like gonna mow everything down. Like he's definitely got challenges like everybody else does, but what we've seen so far is he takes care of himself really well. But what I've really taken away is that any other bounty hunter that so far that we've seen that have not been legendary, kind of like the ones that we saw on the on Darth Vader's ship in episode 5. I'm assuming those we know that Boba Fett's elite of elite, but the rest of them in that lineup, Bosk, IG-88, characters with a lot of history that go back to the days of the Clone Wars. It's characters like that. We know that, okay, off the bat, these are like the top bounty hunters in the galaxy right now. And so far we haven't really got a lot of that. We haven't gotten any indication that aside from the Mandalorian, that there's anyone else out there who's anything of a rival to him. They made this girl, I'm forgetting her name now, out to be this really deadly mercenary bounty hunter, and yet she's dead now. So it's like
got shot by this like up and coming wannabe bounty hunter.
Yeah, exactly. So like, to me, I think to myself like, okay, he does have his challenges, but at the same time, like what other character is a rival to him at this point? Like, I'm pretty sure at some point we're going to have to see somebody who could take out the Mandalorian if they wanted to. Yeah. And then maybe choose not to, or something like that. Somebody who might be a future enemy who could take out our protagonist.
Well, I'm really curious to see, because initially, like when he betrays the guild or whatever, I don't remember the guy's name who's like his contact or whatever for the guild and stuff like that. But he of all those bounty hunters that get shots, that guy survives. So
Carl Weathers' character.
Carl Weathers' character. And so I'm kind of like, are we gonna see him again?
Yeah, it makes me wonder that we'll probably see him again at some point, maybe towards the last episode or something.
Yeah, but he definitely, I definitely don't think he'll be kind of the nemesis that you're talking about. No, because there really is no,
physically he's not. He's more like he's the guy with connections. Yeah. Which, he could pose a threat if he hooked up with like the Empire and gave them tracking chips for the child. And, aside from just bounty hunters, now they have basically rogue Imperials on his tail as well. And it's going to get to that point, because in the trailer we have seen, a squad of, unlike the stormtroopers that we saw on whatever planet that was, we've seen Argo 7 or something. The name has been floating around the internet, but, we've seen those stormtroopers which were super battered up, just done. Totally. Their armor was just totally outdated and like ruined and dirtied up and everything. But in the trailer we see a fresh lineup of Death Troopers.
Yeah.
You know, in canon Rogue One style Death Troopers lined up in a firing squad formation. And
Which
we
is
also
no
see
small thing.
no, it's no small thing whatsoever. And we see what's his face from Breaking Bad in an Imperial officer uniform. He's got a little mustache.
Brian.
No, he's the guy that plays the launderer, the money launderer.
I don't know.
Or something.
I never watched Breaking.
I think,
Bad.
or
I kind
was he
of
a money launderer. Oh no, sorry, no, he's the guy. No, I'm mixing up the roles. I think he was the guy that just wore a hat all the time, or I don't know. I forget his name.
Oh no, I know who you're talking about. Yeah, no,
half black guy, half African American. He was. Oh man, this is gonna bother me now.
Yeah, internet save us.
Internet save us. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's see, Mandalorian cast, and he's not shown up yet.
Okay.
He's not on the immediate cast list.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's funny because like I mean there's been like a few people that he's kind of sort of partnered up with so far, not really. Like there's no one other than like the child, like Baby Yoda. No one's actually like stuck around with him, and then there's been absolutely no one that's like been like a clear and consistent nemesis.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe the the ominous figure that we see at the end with the clanking spurs or whatever will manifest that role.
Yeah, I wonder. And like this is the thing. Oh, his name. Okay, so he plays Moff Gideon. The actor's name is Giancarlo Esposito.
Okay.
And he's in one episode this season. That's him right there.
That guy. Yep. Yeah.
So he's in Breaking Bad, and in Breaking Bad he plays Gustavo or Gus.
Yeah.
Gus is the character's name. So he's coming in I guess in the next or the episode after that. We don't have very many left. Like this is episode 5. We got episode 6 next week. Episode 7 the week after, and that will be on the Wednesday, 2 days before the Rise of Skywalker, 1 day before the unofficial pre-release on the Thursday night.
Yeah.
And then we have one last one a couple days after Skywalker comes out. The week after that'll be episode 8. Episode 8 will wrap up the first season, and we can expect a conclusion to the first season being an arc. I'm assuming that there's something that happens with this Baby Yoda by that point, or
yeah, maybe, I don't know, because it's funny, we really haven't seen anything like we've seen Baby Yoda use the Force and stuff like that, and then we've saw like how he's important to that whatever technician or physician or whatever seems to be from Camino and stuff like that, but we haven't seen his kind of character, if you can call that.
Yeah,
we've gotten nothing tangible from that so far in the last couple episodes. I mean, like he's kind of had a bit of a reprieve in the last one, was able to hang out with the kids and stuff like that, and then this one he got to be babysat by a mechanic, and so now I'm kind of interested, like, okay, what's the next step gonna be for this kid, because we haven't seen him use the Force or anything like that in the last like couple episodes.
No, yeah, it's been a little bit since he's used the Force for sure.
Yeah.
And the last time that he did use it, it wiped him like so hard. Like he was out cold.
Yeah, I mean, in his defense, that was a big mudhorn.
yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
I mean, Obi-Wan, did Obi-Wan fight a mudhorn in Attack of the Clones?
That was a Reek. That was a Reek. Yeah,
okay.
Reeks are from. I think they must be from a different planet, but they're. I believe the Reek was smaller. Like I want to say it's half the size of the Mudhorn.
It seemed like it.
Yeah, and it didn't have fur or anything. It was just
and Obi-Wan just wasn't like or no. I guess no, he didn't fight it. Anakin did. But even then, Anakin didn't use the Force on it or anything.
Yeah,
until he just got on its back.
He kind of did the Force control, the Force tame. We've seen that happen multiple times throughout Star Wars. In the Clone Wars, we've seen it in Rebels. We've seen it in Attack of the Clones.
Yeah.
We've seen it in did we see it in Revenge of the Sith? I can't remember. I don't think we did actually. But yeah, no, we've seen it a few times. That the influence of the mind, over a creature, just connecting with it through the Force. That's been a huge thing.
Yeah.
I think the Mandalorian could have benefited from that
Just
greatly in that episode. He was about to just die with knife in hand.
Yeah. His was that his chest plate, like his cuirass was that of Beskar that got wrecked by that thing's horn?
I
don't know.
Don't know. Like I'm not too sure. I don't think it was actually.
Yeah.
Because I think it may have just been.
Because it had a lot of electronics and stuff like that going on.
Yeah.
Behind it and
I
stuff.
I think that's how the plates stick to him. But
right.
I think Beskar in general, is that silvery finished material that we've grown to see through that, that he's been getting the pieces. Mm-hmm. At the time of the beginning of the episode, he only has his helmet and the one shoulder pad.
Yes.
And then he's got the chest plate and the other shoulder pad as the other stuff.
And the one thigh
the one thigh plate, as well. So he's got little pieces, but he's not got the full suit or anything.
Yeah.
So, at this, we've got the full upper torso almost, aside from the wrist gauntlets at this point. Actually, does he have the wrist gauntlets in Beskar? I can't remember.
I think he does, because I know at least that they gave him the whistling
the whistling sparrows or something.
Birds or sparrows.
Yeah. So so he's got a lot more at this point. I don't know though for sure if that initial chest plate was Beskar. I think the only hint that we get that it may or may not be is when that Quarren alien in the very first episode takes out the knife and says, is that real Beskar or something? And he scratches it with the knife before the Mandalorian kills them all and beats them all to a pulp.
Yeah, that's true.
So I don't remember where he took the knife and scratched though. I don't know if it was the chest plate or the arm piece.
Yeah, or shoulder. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. I have to go back and look.
Yeah. But yeah, I don't know. As far as this episode goes, just super nostalgic.
Very.
Not a crazy amount of depth to it, but it was just really fun. Really fun
it was.
To see. Yeah.
Yeah, it was cool.
I could easily watch it again and probably find a few more things that, I'd have to say or talk about. But, that's pretty much all I got, I guess, for this one. Do you have anything to add or?
No, not really.
It's just us, I wish we had this would go a little longer if we had more voices here, but they all bailed tonight. So, Reid, thank you so much for bringing the donuts. Coming over.
Happy to. And we didn't even get halfway through them. I mean, we had 2 donuts apiece, and that was whew.
We've got 8 left.
8 left.
Maybe we'll just watch a movie and maybe have another.
Maybe.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Something like that. Maybe we can play Battlefront 2 or something. New update came out today. That's something I can talk about. New Battlefront update came out today, was it? Or yesterday?
I think you were saying it was yesterday or sometime this past week, maybe.
Yeah, and there was a new copy available on the shelf really soon, or if not already, called the Celebration Edition.
Yeah.
And players who have not previously owned Battlefront can pick up this version for all platforms, and it comes with every skin for every character, every emote, every victory stance, everything that you could unlock with the currency in game. You don't need to worry about it. This version comes with absolutely everything. Existing players, it's an add-on. $25 will get you everything in the rest of the game. It's kind of cool. If it wasn't $25, I might have considered it.
Yeah, because it's basically just cosmetics and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's just cosmetic items. Yeah, yeah, for sure. We are getting an update very soon though. For Rise of Skywalker.
Yes.
I heard a rumor online that BB-8 will be made a playable character.
Oh,
I don't know how that's even possible. What
are they going to do?
Do?
Are they going to do that a special mode, like the Ewok hunt thing? Maybe.
I have no idea. I think he's a playable hero.
That'll be okay.
I don't know. I have no idea. I think it's the Resistance is getting him, and then the First Order is getting the evil BB-8. BB9E or whatever its name was. Yeah, the
my
black
gosh.
BB. I think it's BB9E or something, or
Something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, the first order
Yeah.
BB unit basically.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
the update's coming. We'll have Sith troopers at the ready.
Yeah.
A new map, new planet, and I believe Jakku is getting added to capital supremacy,
Oh.
and the capital supremacy will eventually, I guess, be made out to not be Clone Wars exclusive.
That'll be really.
That's my guess.
I'll be really happy about that because I like Galactic Assault and stuff like that, and I love like Galactic Supremacy, but like after a while, like you're just doing a lot of the same stuff with Galactic Supremacy because it's like, you know, they only have so much in it right now.
Yeah.
And so it'd be great to see that expanded for sure.
Yeah. I could do with a few more maps for that
Yeah.
mode. I mean, we've had Felucia. It's cool, but you know, I just need more.
More, please, more. Give me
Please more. Feed the machine. Feed the game. And if it wasn't $25, I would be happy to input another like 10 or 15 just to like ensure that they keep
putting stuff out. Yeah, that'd be great. Yeah. Oh, before I forget though, I wanted to ask. So, how did what was the Empire's? Did they even occupy Tatooine at all? Because in Episode 4, they come to the planet like just as like an expedition kind of, and so yeah, I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if maybe there was like an outpost or, you know, like a bunch of like people at some point or another had killed like a bunch of stormtroopers and just like mounted their helmets on those like impaled on those spears and stuff like that. But I figured I'd just like throw it out to you if Tatooine was ever actually occupied, because like the Hutts controlled it and stuff.
Yeah, you know, it's kind of it's an interesting topic because I don't know if you could fully qualify it as occupied as you can with planets like Corellia or Coruscant.
Yeah, because Tatooine's on the outer rim.
It's on the outer rim. It's not like crazy far out there like Jakku, but it's, you know, it's definitely considered to be on the outer rim. The outer rim's quite a wide range of space. I think most of the planets that we've seen in the sequels so far have all been on the outer rim, I think. Majority wise. I think it's safe to say that most of the planets in the Mandalorian have also been probably in the outer rim.
Oh yeah, and didn't they name drop? So they name dropped Mos Eisley in this one, which is why we knew it's Tatooine. But then the gal that they were after, the Asian chick, she name dropped, I think, the planet that he actually was initially on.
Yeah, that's right. Start with an F.
An N or an F?
Or it might have been. Oh, Nimran or something. Yeah, I know what you're talking about. She referenced the planet that he was on, the whole escapade with the things that we saw in Episode 3 of The Mandalorian. Yeah, like that whole. So that planet now has a name.
Yeah, so that made me happy too, because I was like, I miss our blocks of text where it's like
Rogue One was so helpful for that. Like, I liked that more than I thought I would. Not that we knew it was gonna be like that, but the first time that it showed up, I was like, oh, this is different. And then the second time it showed up, I was like, okay, yeah, like I'm on board with this. You know, like I can get by. Like this is already an anthology film, supposed to be a little different. Yeah. You know, and like TV and stuff, it's gonna be a little different than the film. So, you know, naturally, it would be cool to have, you know, planet, even for casual fans that don't keep track of planet names. It would be cool just to like differentiate the locations, because now we've seen 2 desert planets. Yeah. And or maybe even 3 at this point. We're nobody knows like what they're called or like where they are. But at least one thing is confirmed now: the off-world Jawas, that I think this came up in a previous roundtable, are in fact off-world Jawas, because that is not Tatooine. That whole second episode of The Mandalorian, that first episode of The Mandalorian where he finds the child, all that stuff. So we can confirm that is not Tatooine, and that's why the off-world Jawas have red eyes and they look different.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, but we're okay. Now we've reached the end of our time, so thank you for this chat and for being the only one that showed up to the round table. Thank you so much, Reid, for coming back on the show. Always great to chat with you about Star Wars, and it's amazing to think that we live in a time where we can watch Star Wars on a weekly basis, a new episode every week. An 8-part series, it's crazy. I mean, you know, there's almost as many Mandalorian episodes in season 1 as there is Skywalker episodes, so, you know, they might be shorter, but Star Wars is very at home on television, very episodic in the way that it's always been, and it's just a privilege to get together with friends every week on a Friday and you know, bring in donuts for 2 and whatever else. So good, and, you know, it's just Star Wars is all about the community, and I mean, you know, it's what keeps a lot of friendships together. It's what's brought a lot of people together, and you know, I couldn't feel more privileged to be a fan just like you. So thanks again for listening, and tune in next week for Mandalorian Roundtable episode 6. So tune in for that, and get in touch with us on Twitter. Our handle is SW Escape Podcast, and our email is theescapepod@outlook.com. So let us know what you want from this show. We're open to feedback, comments, complaints, whatever you want. Thanks again. Leave a good review. And once again, I'm your host, Josh. Thanks again for listening. May the Force be with you.